Yo, how's it going, everyone? This is Mitchell Mander here, and if you can't tell, yeah, still a little under the weather. It seems like I'm losing my voice, so we'll see how this review goes. But anyways, I really wanted to talk about this episode despite my voice sounding like this, because, yeah, this is the episode, or I guess this is the part of chapter 35 where everything changes. And moving forward, yeah, things are going to be completely different, and it's going to be pretty non-stop from here. So, yeah, Sasuke's in another dimension investigating the Otsutsuki clan. We have Boro and his cult expansion, which is pretty cool as well. So, how was the episode overall? Well, before I get on that, if you're new to the channel, you like this type of content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It'd be pretty cool if you did that. Alright, let's get on with the review. So, for episode 202, there's two different main plot lines going here and a very small one with Boruto and Mitsuki. So, for this review, I'm going to talk about Boro and his cult first, then talk about Sasuke and the Otsutsuki dimension next, and then finish off the episode review summary by talking about Boruto and Mitsuki's sections before going on to my final thoughts. So, let's start with Boro and his cult. So at the beginning of this episode, Boro was actually investigating the blimp that crashed earlier in this arc, and he found a certain device on this arc which seems to imply that Koji actually left this behind recklessly. Which I wonder what this could potentially imply. Well, more on that later. Anyways, Boro's a busy man, so he heads back to his cult, delivers a pretty interesting speech. He has some new kids that are joining the cult, and he explains to everybody that, hey, we don't need money, we don't need anything. As long as you give your souls to me, and to the infinite Tsukiyomi, and to the Otsutsuki clan, you'll find eternal rest. You don't need earthly possessions. And kids, you probably weren't around for this, but a little while back, the infinite Tsukiyomi was cast, and those souls were granted eternal peace, and it was by Kaguya Otsutsuki. But she was murdered. She was murdered by the 5 great nations. And then we had 2 other gods, Kinshiki and Momoshiki Otsutsuki, and they were murdered as well. Those 5 great nations. So Boro was basically getting everybody against the 5 great nations, and I love it. But anyways, he informs them that there is one more Otsutsuki god out there. This god granted me unbelievable powers, so the infinite Tsukiyomi is still possible. So Boro, his assistant Inori, and the children are outside talking. That's when Inori's brother shows up, tries to take her away because she's clearly being deceived by Boro and his lies, and also to tell the children to get away from him as well. But Boro counters this by saying, I've already met God, I've been given an indestructible body, so yeah, you should join us. Which he decides to attack Boro, and he literally splits Boro in 2 from the top up. It seems like Boro is dead, but he immediately reattaches himself and regenerates himself and is back to normal, and tells him to give it up. And Inori over here, she's just not falling for whatever her brother is saying. She's so convinced by Boro and his teachings that she immediately rejects him and walks away. Boro gives him one last chance, but Inori's brother won't give up, so he unfortunately has to kill him. And it's lucky that the device that Boro got from the airship didn't get destroyed there. Because, how are you going to explain this, Kashin Koji? What is this about? What did you leave on the ship? It almost got destroyed here, but luckily it didn't. So, Koji's got some explaining to do. Okay, on to Sasuke's storyline in this episode. So, continuing on from last week's episode, Sasuke's in that Otsutsuki dimension. We get a short flashback of him talking with Sai, and he learns about Jigen from this flashback. So, Sasuke goes, investigates, and he starts touching the symbols that are on the wall behind him, or I guess on the mountainside behind him. And each time he touches it, an Otsutsuki member that he's actually encountered before appears, like Kinshiki, Momoshiki, and Kaguya, and an unknown Otsutsuki he's never seen before. And Sasuke quickly comes to the conclusion that, just like with Kinshiki and Momoshiki, did Kaguya come to Earth with another Otsutsuki member? And before he can think of anything else, he can hear something, a noise coming from the platform that he was standing on earlier, the Renny Sharingan platform he was standing on. And to Sasuke's horror, he discovers that there's a Ten Tails underneath this platform. yes, there's a second Ten Tails in the Naruto universe, and it is located underneath this platform, and it is trapped under here, being held down by a bunch of chakra rods, very similar to Pain's rods, and it's stuck on each tail, so it can't move at all, so it's basically trapped down here, and it looks super hungry as it tries to eat Sasuke. But before Sasuke can think of anything else, that's when Jigen shows up via space-time ninjutsu. Sasuke looks at him and realizes that he's the leader of Kara Jigen, as he has a karma on him. So Jigen goes to greet the Ten Tails, it tries to eat him, and he tells the Ten Tails it's not time for the Jubi to eat him. And more on that at a later date anime onlys. But anyways, he decides to take more chakra from the Ten Tails. And Sasuke sees this, realizes that it's the same technique that Boruto and that other kid have. And as soon as he starts absorbing chakra from the Ten Tails, Jigen starts to resemble that unknown Otsutsuki member that Sasuke saw earlier on the patterns. And Sasuke is freaking out at this point. Sasuke realizes that the situation is much more dangerous than they ever thought, or even thought possible, so he has to warn Naruto immediately. Whereas Jigen, on the other hand, declares that he's going to greet the two vessels. Now on to Boruto and Mitsuki's part in this episode, which was a very small part in the episode. So Boruto's doing some shuriken training to talk about Kawaki, but the important thing about this conversation is that Mitsuki brings up the fact that karma is very dangerous. We don't know anything about it, and should use it basically wisely, or use it sparingly. And as they're leaving later in the episode, Mitsuki brings up the fact that what if karma is permanent? What are you going to do? Boruto's over here like, why are you saying stuff like this out of the blue? But I like what Boruto does here. He's like, think of this as basically a super high-ranked mission. But I am Mr. Sasuke's student. I'm also the Hokage's son. I don't know, I just like how it ends here, with Boruto showing some confidence here in himself, and being able to overcome the karma and its potential side effects. And this is where the chapter basically comes to an end. But like I said in last week's episode review, in the manga, Boruto and Mitsuki were going to see Lady Tsunade, and to talk about how the Byakugo seal is very similar to the Karma seal. But that's not what they're doing here. They're basically doing training. I don't know what Boruto and Mitsuki are doing. I don't know if they're doing more training. They're going to do more training somewhere else. But they're heading off in a way opposite of Naruto's house. So that's what they're doing. But anyways, that's pretty much where the episode comes to an end. Now overall, I thought this was a fine episode. It was basically split between manga canon and anime canon, and I think it was done pretty well for the most part. The manga canon stuff was good, and I loved it, and this was the chapter that really got me excited for the Boruto series, if I'm being completely honest. Not saying that everything before it was bad or anything, but this is where things change, and this is where like the real plot, or the real threat of the series is basically introduced, and it's a pretty major one with Otsutsuki members and the Ten Tails. Yeah, we're in a lot of danger now, so this is where things get exciting, in my opinion. But anyways, the chapter 35 stuff was done really well, in my opinion. I do think the art style was a little bit better in the manga overall, but it was still pretty good. As for the anime canon stuff, I like the stuff with Boro. I like what they're doing with Boro and making him a religious cult leader. It's very similar to how religious cult leaders are in real life. I mean, this is basically what they do. They manipulate people, they lie to people to get them to join their cause. And it can result in them leaving their families behind, leaving their friends behind, and potentially sacrificing themselves for something that ultimately did nothing for them. That's really what a lot of these religious cults are like. So I like what the Boruto anime is doing here. It's taking a real life thing that goes on, like something goes on in real life, and it's applying it to the anime, and it's doing it in a way that if you know about this stuff in real life, it makes sense here what's happening to people, because a lot of people in the past have been deceived by this stuff, so it makes sense that people, especially children who don't know any better, are getting deceived as well. So I like it. This is some pretty good material from the Boruto anime. So that's pretty much all I got for this episode review. And obviously I'm about ready to lose my voice, so I should probably end the episode review here. So anyways, guys, this was another solid episode. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So guys, in the comment section down below, let me know what you thought of this episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Post your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully next time I do a video, I'm feeling fine and my voice is better. But anyways, until next time, I'll see you guys later.